Now, let's talk about the unconventional birth of Romulus and Remus. Now, Romulus now is the person considered to be the person who founded Rome. And in fact, the city carries his name, kind of like, yeah, Romulus, Rome. Now, Romulus and his brother Remus, they were twins, and they came from the lineage of that started with Latinus and Aeneas. Aeneas is this guy who came from Troy and came with his tribes people to the land where we know today as Italy. And coming there, he finds there was a ruler known as Latinus, and they join hands. And Latinus gives his daughter to Aeneas, and Aeneas marries this lady, and they have kids. And in fact, out of that marriage, now we have a lineage of rulers who ruled that land for a very long time before the birth of Romulus and Remus. This time, maybe 100, close to 100 years went by. There were different sons to son, son to son, son to, no, father to son, father to son, father to son. And then it reached the point there was this guy by the name Procas. Now, Procas came from that lineage. And Procas had his own two sons, Numitor and Amulius. Now, Numitor and Amulius, Numitor was the elder, and as by how things were done, then he was supposed to be the one who will inherit the you can call it the monarchy or the leadership of the Latin society or dominion. But seems like Numitor was not as aggressive as his younger brother Amulius. Amulius maybe saw that and he took advantage, and he chased away his brother and he took on the throne, and he destroyed his family, the family of the brother, basically the sons, kind of like he got rid of them. And then there was one daughter by the name Rhea Silvia, and he decided that Rhea Silvia was not going to get married and have kids, because of course he thought if she gets married and gets kids, then those kids will claim to be the bona fide rulers of the land. So he kind of like stopped that from happening. So she didn't get married. It was assumed she was a virgin, and that was expected that it was going to be the case for the rest of her life. But then she appeared pregnant, and nobody knew who the father who was responsible of the pregnancy. And when she gave birth, she gives birth to two boys. And these are the boys now we are talking about, Romulus and Remus. And she goes ahead and claims that the father of the kids is Mars, which is a god. She never told anybody who the actual father was, but she just claimed that the father was Mars. And but now their uncle, Amulius, of course, he wasn't happy because he didn't want any child to come out of his brother's family. Now there are these twins who have been born, and he doesn't want them to live so that they come to lay claim to the throne. So what does he do? He orders some servants to take these two babies to the river and throw them there so that they die. So during that time, the river Tiber, and in fact, Livy does tell us how the river came to be known as River Tiber. It tells us that there was a ruler who went by the name, maybe Tiberinus or something like that, who was crossing the river and then he died, and the river name was changed to his name to be Tiber. Okay, that's a different story. Now, the babies are taken to the river, and at that time, the river is overflown. And they put the babies at a particular point and hoping that the water will carry the babies to the river, of course, and they'll die. But then the water subsides and the babies just stay there. Now, there's a story that there is, what is it called? Is it a wolf? I think it's a wolf. I might be wrong on that, but it's a wild animal. I think it's a wolf that comes along and finds the babies, and the wolf breastfeeds the babies. I'm going to do a different video to tell you how that story is so similar to other stories of great people who ruled in some ancient empires. It's a very interesting. I was reading that part, and I remember reading Herodotus' book, and I see this, and also the Bible, and I see these similarities, and I'm like, what was happening in the ancient world that these big people or great people who ended up being leaders or rulers had a similar childhood story, or near similar. So these babies are breastfed by the she-wolf, and even that itself has a similar equivalent with others, and I'm going to say that especially with Cyrus the Great. And but somebody else comes along, and in fact now the she-wolf is often described as, it wasn't really an animal, it was a woman, and it's the same thing with Cyrus the Great. Anyway, let me not talk so much about that because I'm going to do a video about that. Now, somebody did come along and took the kids and took care of them, and it was among shepherds, which is also very interesting, especially when I do the video. that I'm planning to do about the similarity of this story with other stories. And the two boys grew up, and now, yeah, we have Romulus and brother Remus. Another video will talk about now what happened between them and how Romulus ended up being the founder of what we know as the ancient Rome city.